Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining our virtual South by Southwest EDU session. We're sorry we couldn't be with you in person, but we're excited to share a little bit of information about our program virtually. My name is Dr. Carly Gilson, and I am the Faculty Director of Aggie ACHIEVE and an Assistant Professor of Special Education at Texas A&M University.
Hi, I'm Dr. Olivia Hester. I am the Program Director for Aggie ACHIEVE.
And I'm Fedewa. I'm a sophomore at Texas A&M University, and I'm the president of the student organization Aggie ACHIEVEMates.
So today we're going to talk with you a little bit about inclusive higher education for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. I'm going to tell you specifically about a new program at Texas A&M called Aggie ACHIEVE. And we'll also talk about a student organization partner called Aggie ACHIEVEMates. We'll share some successes and challenges of the program, as well as how Aggie ACHIEVE fits within a larger landscape of inclusive higher education that is quickly developing across the United States. And then at the end, we'll share some resources and calls to action for you all to get involved in your communities. Before we begin, I'd like you to take a moment to pause and reflect on this question. When you hear the word inclusion related to college, what words might come to mind for you? Maybe you're thinking of social skills, friendships, opportunities, belonging. Maybe you're thinking of access or equality. All of these are important pillars that guided us in the development of an inclusive post-secondary program for young adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Within the last 10 years, opportunities for young adults with intellectual disabilities to attend college has been steadily increasing. Adolescents with intellectual and developmental disabilities have the same aspirations for higher education, for employment, for independent community living, as do their peers without disabilities. Yet historically, these opportunities have not been available to them. Legislation passed around 2008 called the Higher Education Opportunity Act really opened the doors for inclusive higher education opportunities for this population. And one of the main products that came out of that legislation was a national coordinating center called Think College. Think College oversees the development and works in partnership with universities across the country to develop programs and inclusive opportunities for young adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities to attend college. And so currently, there are now more than 270 programs at colleges and universities across all 50 states, which is tremendous progress from what we've seen in the last decade. Each year, more and more universities consider how they can open their doors to young adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities and how they can offer the same campus resources and the same opportunities as their students already have to expand to this important segment of our community. And as new programs develop, not only are they developing with the intent in mind to just provide an opportunity, but more and more what we're seeing is that this philosophy of inclusion is really what's guiding program development in the beginning. And this really is a paradigm shift from what we've seen in the last 10, 15 years, rather than just having students with disabilities who might be in the shadows of the larger campus community. Now the push is really toward full integration into the campus community as a whole. And so Texas A&M is just one of those universities that really took an interest in creating inclusive opportunities for young adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities in Texas. Texas A&M was already widely known for an employment preparation program that we have called the PATHS program, which stands for Post-Secondary Access and Training in Human Services. This is a currently a one-year program that prepares young adults with disabilities for service-related professions. And because of this program and because of the partnership of a university center of excellence called the Center on Disability and Development, a lot of arrows were pointing at Texas A&M to start this program, to start a new opportunity that would allow young adults aspiring to attend college the same opportunities as do their peers. Texas A&M being a flagship institution in the state and a land-grant university, is really committed to providing educational opportunities for all Texas residents and creating more options for young adults with disabilities to attend college as part of their dreams. So I arrived to Texas A&M in the summer of 2017, and I had come from a program at Vanderbilt University called Next Steps, where I supported education and training and job coaching for a very similar type of program to Aggie ACHIEVE. And when I arrived at Texas A&M, I was seen as somebody who had some prior knowledge in at least conceptualizing what an inclusive program would look like. So I worked very closely with the Center on Disability and Development and the College of Education and Human Development to establish a vision for what an inclusive post-secondary program would look like. And from the outset, we were really committed to making sure that every aspect of this program mirrored college, community life, academic opportunities as the same avenues for peers without disabilities at Texas A&M. And even though it was my first year, it was a little daunting to take this on, but I immediately, in moving to Texas, saw that there was a need for a program like this and thought, well, now's the time, and I'm the person to launch this, and have just been so grateful for the many, many people who helped me along the way and who helped to co-create that vision for inclusion at Texas A&M. And I've just been so fortunate to have leaders, administrators, students, staff, every aspect of the university has been really invested in starting this program. And so about 2 years later, in the fall of 2019, we launched Aggie ACHIEVE. And ACHIEVE stands for Academic Courses in Higher Inclusive Education and Vocational Experiences. And this program represents the first 4-year residential inclusive program for young adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities in Texas. We started with 5 students who you'll get to hear more about in a little bit. And as I've said, I think college is a huge influence in helping myself and other practitioners in this field conceptualize inclusion. And they developed a task force of experts across the field, representatives from different programs, to help us move toward a shared understanding of what inclusion is. And this is what they came up with. The first, inclusion is a human right, meaning that it is something that should be a right for every single person. And what's encompassed in that right is being able to choose one's own life path, being actively engaged alongside others, and having that value for whatever their contributions are in the world or just in a simple interaction. There also should be mutual and ongoing benefit for all parties. So this means that inclusion is a two-way street. Inclusion should be representative of people of all different types of abilities, cultures, gender identities, race, ethnicity, and other forms of diversity. Inclusion is dependent on individual and communal perspectives, which means that there is no singular definition of what it means to be included or what it means to feel included, but that this really is an individualized definition of how a person contributes or relates to a certain community. And then lastly, specific to inclusive higher education is that as colleges and universities, especially those that are seen as having a stated commitment to serve all people across our state, that we celebrate, not only that we acknowledge intellectual diversity, but that we celebrate it in the same way that we celebrate other forms of diversity, and that having different perspectives, different learning styles, different ways of accessing life, whether it's academics or independent living, rather than attempting to fix or to move toward a perceived norm, that we actually celebrate what diversity means at different levels of intellectual ability. So with these 4 pillars in mind, we established Aggie ACHIEVE. And our program has a twofold mission. The first is to provide an inclusive and immersive college education. So all of that, those pillars that I just described, those are wrapped into that word inclusive. And what that fully means, not just about physical inclusion, people being able to participate in physical spaces or opportunities, but that whole philosophical side of inclusion that really governs the extent to which an individual truly feels included in college life. And the second key word here is immersive. So as much as possible, we wanted our program to provide a direct access point to college and campus life at Texas A&M, meaning that our students would have the same opportunities, social opportunities, academic opportunities, including joining student organizations, going to football games and social events, taking A&M classes, living on campus, eating at the dining halls, all of the things that are just much more than being in a class, much more of the holistic experience of attending college. And secondly, we wanted our program to be really clearly directed toward an outcome. So it's not enough to just provide a 4-year college experience and then expect that our students are going to return to whatever they were doing before. Instead, we wanted our program to be a catalyst, a way that our students could have a launching pad directly into inclusive employment in the community. And the way that we do that is by structuring the program intentionally, where in the first 2 years, students are introduced to campus fully. They spend most of their time on campus. They live on campus, take A&M classes. They take seminars in our program that focus on independent living. They start to have some early conversations about career exploration, and they start on-campus internship opportunities where they can gain some employment experiences. And then in the last 2 years, that focus really shifts, where they're still taking classes, they're still immersed in campus activities, but they're spending a lot more time focusing on career development. By that time, our students will have had a wide range of exposure to different types of employment experiences. They've learned a lot about themselves to better understand where they see themselves and what their goals are related to career development. And we will work closely with them to ensure that they have either internship opportunities or paid employment opportunities where they can continue to foster their skills in employment and prepare for inclusive employment in the community. So our goal is that by the time our students get the program, that 100% of them are moving toward a paid employment opportunity in the community. So I'm going to share a video that goes into more detail about our program. You get to hear from our students and our student leaders and learn a little bit more about the program's development.
It's nice here. It's cool college. My grandfather was class of 55. I get to carry on my family traditions. My parents did not pay Aggie to A&M.
I say the program is very revolutionary. It's one of the first in the state.
I like it. It's also my thing to come. Go to college. I'm free.
I was inspired to start Aggie ACHIEVE when I came to Texas. I realized that there was not an opportunity like this in Texas, and I worked closely with the Center on Disability and Development to provide that option here.
The mission of Aggie ACHIEVE is to create an inclusive environment for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities to attend college here at Texas A&M and to help them achieve their post-school outcomes in employment. Students in the Aggie ACHIEVE program will have the opportunity to live in the dorms here on campus. We are able to create an inclusive environment for them, where they're going to be working on independent living skills such as laundry and cooking, just like any other Aggie student.
I get to do a lot of cool stuff and make new friends. You get to go to like fish camp and all kinds of stuff. Fish camp's fun, and it's awesome.
They also take at least 2 courses at Texas A&M, one in physical education activities program. They also will take one Texas A&M course that they're interested in.
This semester I'm taking theater history 2 and archery. Beginner's archery, I love it. I'm learning able to shoot a bow and arrow right and precisely.
I've been here, it'll be right. It's good. Right now I'm taking dance and theater history and seminar. We are watching a movie and like homework stuff like reading. I like math. I like to read. I like to dance. I like hanging out with my friends.
In addition, students will have access to Aggie ACHIEVEMates, which is a student-recognized organization now on campus.
Aggie ACHIEVEMates has gotten a really cool opportunity to partner up with Aggie ACHIEVE, so we're the student organization side of Aggie ACHIEVE, and we just provide friendship and support to these students. We want them to have a normal college experience. We recruited a really amazing, strong group of Aggies who want to do just that. They just want to be a friend and a mentor to an incoming freshman and help them transition to life here.
My research will continue to follow the progress of Aggie ACHIEVE. What we were finding in developing this program is that there's not a lot of research out there on how other universities can start initiatives like Aggie ACHIEVE at their own campus. So I'd like for us to be a leader, not only in Texas, but across the country in helping future universities start similar programs. And then I'd also like to be able to support our students who are in Aggie ACHIEVE through academic interventions and social interventions and ways that we can continuously improve the work we're doing.
I hope that the students gain lifelong friendships. College is this place where you really do find your lifelong friends, and I hope that they leave here with a network of support. I also hope that they leave here with gainful employment in a career that they're interested in a career that they can really move up in.
I want to be a sports trainer and work with the basketball and football teams at A&M and live down here permanently. I want to be a teacher. I want to teach kids how to act.
We really want to open up this program to more students, and in order to do that, we really need more staff and more funding needs because we are really based right now on donations.
Each year, I expect that we'll grow. As we grow, we'll also be collaborating with different stakeholders across campus and across the community and across the state.
We have a culture and an environment here where inclusion and acceptance aren't things we have to teach people. It's things that people already know and believe in. They see it as a way of just living out Aggie core values in their everyday life.
The Aggies stick with each other all the time, have each other's backs.
So that's just an overview of our program. We really like to show that video because we feel that it really comes from the student perspective and having the students' voices in it. And so now we're going to dive just a little bit deeper into the different areas that we really focus on with the students. Of course, one being academics. They are fully enrolled at Texas A&M as non-degree seeking students. They take at least one Texas A&M academic course per semester based on what they're interested in. You know, we want them to leave Texas A&M with much more of a diverse knowledge base, and so taking classes that they're interested in, but also taking some classes that they haven't really thought about having access to. And so those are inclusive, and they are provided with a modified syllabus. So they're still expected to do the same assignments as everyone else in the course. They just show they're learning differently. For example, if they were having to do a multiple choice test and it was timed, instead they might submit a PowerPoint to show what they learned, or a video or audio recording. And what we have found is that instructors have found that their teaching has improved because now they're trying to access our students even more in the classroom. And in turn, it's also helping the access of other students without disabilities in the classroom. In addition to a modified syllabus, they also have peer note takers in the class that they know. And so that really helps, especially in those large lecture classes. Knowing someone before you go into that class and having a familiar face just makes you feel more comfortable. And also we work with disability resources on campus. And so they have access to that along with all the other resources at Texas A&M that other students without disabilities have access to. In addition to the Texas A&M academic course, they also take a physical education activity course. So that is different recreation classes each semester that they can pick. And so these are wonderful courses. They have just about everything you could ever imagine to take, and they're with other Texas A&M students. So we had a student take fencing this past semester, basketball, yoga. It's great. And then they also take a freshman seminar course that all Texas A&M students have to take. That's an introduction to college and resources on campus. So they take that along with other Texas A&M students. We also have Aggie ACHIEVE seminars that are just for our program. And the reason we do this is because we recognize that there are skills and lessons that our students need more instruction on that they're not getting in the regular college classroom. For example, learning about their disability, learning about what it means to be a self-advocate, exploring other careers and job opportunities, building their resumes. And so we've also built that into the program as well. Students who have access to the college classroom, research shows that are twice as likely to graduate and go into a career that they're interested in and are more likely to be gainfully employed when they graduate. Not only that, but it promotes social acceptance, not only for the student with a disability, but also other students in the classroom. Many college students have never had access to sitting beside a student with a disability. And oftentimes the term disability has a lot of stigma built to it. So we're hoping that not only is our program helping the student with a disability, but also providing that interaction for people without disabilities. And then another huge aspect of our program is career development, career preparation. we want students to graduate from our program competitively employed in a career that they're interested in, competitive employment alongside peers without disabilities, opportunities for promotion. So competitive employment, individuals with disabilities have higher opportunity to wages, access to benefits. They have greater integration with people without disabilities. They have more choice and self-determination. They feel more accepted when being involved in competitive employment as opposed to being involved in like a sheltered workshop. So our students have different employment internships every semester. This starts the spring of their first year in the program. We did this because the first semester is crazy and they are getting used to adjusting to college life. And so we really felt that waiting until the spring would be a good idea, not throwing employment in there as well. A lot of these students are coming straight from high school and have never had the opportunity to have a job, especially a job in a inclusive environment, working alongside a boss, having to interview for a job. And so the first 2 years in the program, they have job internships on campus, and then the last 2 years, they can venture off campus into the community. And then the fourth year in the program, we really focus on finding them that job, whether it's in College Station. Some of our students want to stay long term. They never want to leave College Station, which is great. And then other students want to go back home from wherever they're from. And so we want to bridge that gap between leaving the program and getting a full-time position. We don't want students to leave and go back to what they were doing before the program. And so they'll work with our job developer the fourth year in the program to really find that job in a career that they're interested in. And hopefully by that fourth year, they've had various internships that they'll know more about what they want in a job and what they absolutely don't want in a job, which is part of it. Everyone goes through several jobs before they really figure out what kind of job they really want to do. And so our internships this past semester were on campus. We start out with a few hours a week, and over time, as they get each semester, as they grow in their internships, those hours expand. And so by the fourth year, they're working more along the lines of a part-time position. Obviously, another huge aspect of our program is independent living. So the students live on campus in Texas A&M dorms. I call them dorms. They're more like apartments. They have a full-size kitchen, a washer and dryer. They have their own room. They are starting to share a bathroom with one other person. But typically they have, them and 3 other roommates usually. This is a great opportunity for them to work on cleaning, cooking, what do they do in their downtime, daily living skills. Many of these students have never spent a night away from their parents before. And so, moving to college is a big adjustment for anyone, and it's also a big adjustment for our students. 7 out of 10 individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities live with their families that are grown adults. And when their family passes away, 4 out of 10 of those individuals, or 4 out of 10 individuals will move on to living with a sibling. And so having the experience of living on campus, working on those social skills and being in a supportive environment alongside peers without disabilities and with the program really helps in building their self-confidence to live by themselves, building their parents' self-confidence, and also learning those skills that they need so when they graduate, they can live by themselves or with a roommate. And so independent living is a huge area, not only to have access to housing options, but just access to community. Independent living is a very large area, so it also includes going to the grocery store, money management skills. And so this is a really large area of our program that we hope when students graduate that they will be living on their own or with a roommate if they want to. Leisure and recreation. So along with our physical education activity program courses that they can take, We also want to provide our students with lots of options and choices. So students with intellectual disabilities, especially in high school, middle school, their days are very structured to where they have everything planned out. And that often leads to having a lack of choice. When they get home from school, their parent has everything planned out down to what they're going to eat, what they're going to do for sports. And so this has, again, led to not being able to make a whole lot of choices for themselves. And so we want to provide the students with all the choices that they want to have, access to all the Texas A&M clubs, organizations, intramural sports, going to sporting events. And so they have those opportunities and they can make those choices. We don't, we can't tell students what they're going to eat. And so we encourage healthy eating, but at the end of the day, it's their choice, just like any other college student. And so we really focus on choice with leisure and recreation. Again, with making choices, knowing what to do in downtime is another area that students with disabilities really struggle with, especially when going to college. And I think that probably all young adults with and without disabilities probably struggle with knowing what to do during their leisure time in college, because there's a lot of it. And so knowing other things they can do besides watch TV. How do I text a friend and ask them if they want to hang out? What are ways that I could access the community and go see a movie or go shopping without my parent? And so we explicitly teach these things. And again, it's a big part of this is choice. And so we're hoping that that also helps with their self-determination and self-advocacy. Social skills is another area that we teach formally, but also there's a lot of incidental learning, meaning that they're just picking up from their peers on campus. And so when we teach social skills involved around employment or making friends or how to text, how do you work a group me? But then a lot of it is learning from their peers, which is much more powerful than learning from instructors and teachers. When it's coming from a peer, then they take it much more seriously. So a lot of that is incidental learning across settings. And we teach both verbal and nonverbal social skills, nonverbal cues, not only on the college campus, but in the college classroom, in employment. And then we use social skills to promote natural relationships and acceptance. And Anna Fedewa is going to talk in a moment about our student-run organization of peers on campus without disabilities and their access and their help with Aggie ACHIEVE. And research has found that peers without disabilities being peer mentors to college programs like this one really helps with promoting greater acceptance and diversity, recognizing the challenges and barriers that people with disabilities face every day, and also being just more comfortable being around people with disabilities.
For sure. So one of the parts of inclusion on our campus that we think is super important is that inclusion in student life. So like Dr. Hester and Dr. Gilson were speaking about earlier, our students have full access to all of campus resources. They live on campus, they can go to the dining halls, to the recreation center. But one really big part of being included is being included in peer groups. So inclusion into student life here at Texas A&M, the demographics really show we have 1,100 plus student organizations, and a study done on Texas A&M students showed that 89% of students are involved or know someone involved in a student organization. So involvement is something that Aggies really, really value on campus, and we knew that our Aggie ACHIEVE students should have that opportunity as well. What really caught my eye, though, is the same study found that roughly 40% of students agreed that students with disabilities face obstacles to joining student organizations. So when it was our time to set up an organization that would be inclusive and welcoming environment for Aggie Achieve students, we really had to ask ourselves, how do we make this inclusive? And luckily, Dr. Gilson and some other practitioners at the university did some research into what students believe is an inclusive environment. So the three kind of tenets of what is an inclusive student organization is a welcoming culture wherein all people are encouraged to participate in activities and feel comfortable joining new groups. A choice of participation where individuals in an inclusive environment have the choice to participate and they get a choice in the extent to which they are participating. And lastly, one of the most important, reciprocal benefits. So like Dr. Hester was just saying, all of our members benefit from being involved in an inclusive environment, not just our students with disabilities. So my next thing for you is I challenge you to pause and reflect for a second on what barriers to inclusive friendships do you think exist in college spaces, in employment, really anywhere. And I challenge you to answer this question truthfully. Some of the answers I've heard from peers my age are people with disabilities don't go to college or have jobs. Students with disabilities aren't capable of having a quote unquote normal friendship like me and my friends. Or college is hard. I don't know if there's really a place for students with disabilities in college. And until recent years, before people with disabilities were really given the opportunity to prove these myths wrong, it was really easy to believe these things. It's hard to believe in something you don't see. So it's hard to believe that a student with disability could be in your class until they sit right next to you in a lecture hall or work with you in the student recreation center. But what our organization does is really dispel these myths and show students on campus that individuals with disabilities are extremely capable and deserving of being included here at Student Life, and that these barriers really are just ones we perceive in our head, but that our students are overcoming every single day. So what exactly is Aggie ACHIEVEMates? Aggie ACHIEVEMates is a student organization dedicated to serving the Texas A&M community by advocating for inclusion and acceptance through establishing one-to-one relationships with Aggie Achieve students. This is our mission statement. There's always two things that first being such as Dr. Hester and Dr. Gilson. But at the end of the day, we are completely run by students. And what's really important about this is that the students in the Aggie Achieve program are part of that. They are part of a student organization where we have a lot of the same goals and missions as the Aggie Achieve program, but they truly just get to be surrounded and welcomed by other students. The second is that word through. We advocate for inclusion and acceptance through friendship. We believe that the best way to advocate for inclusion on campus is to simply just do it. We don't spend a lot of time talking about why inclusion and acceptance is important because our members truly just believe it and live it out every day. So how Aggie ACHIEVEMates kind of looks, what a day in the life of an Aggie ACHIEVEMate looks like. So we run on a circle model. Each of our Aggie Achieve students has their circle of friends in Aggie ACHIEVEMates. So they have at least one of these 5 roles: a planning partner who meets with them once a week to plan out their week, an academic mentor who meets once to twice a week to work on academic skills. So not always just homework, but study skills and good study habits. Lunch and dinner friends who are really a more social role. Some of our students have an upwards of 4 or 5 of these that really just encourage them to get out into the community and spend time socializing with peers. A wellness partner who does everything from maybe grocery shopping and encouraging healthy eating habits to working out at the recreation center, as well as most students have quite a few members at large, which is more of just a flexible position where they provide support where there might be gaps or where one position ends and another picks up. We really find that this circle model helps to provide a really comprehensive support to our students. They all kind of work in tandem as a group of friends to support one another. And so while our Aggie ACHIEVEMates are working together, of course, the Aggie Achieve student is receiving all of this specialized support, but everyone is an ACHIEVEMate and they're all receiving support and friendship from one another. The goals of Aggie ACHIEVEMates, we have foster and advocate for a community of inclusion, enact change in the lives of Texas A&M students, advance and support the goals and missions of the Aggie Achieve program. Really, at the end of the day, what we believe our mission is that we are all ACHIEVEMates, we are all Aggies, we are all students. and we're all here to support one another. One thing I like to point out is that our organization differs a bit, and we don't have specialized names or designations for our types of members. Of course, we have the Aggie Achieve students and then students enrolled in degree-seeking programs here at Texas A&M, but we all consider ourselves ACHIEVEMates. The bottom line is that we are friends and Aggies first, advocates and mentors second. And I believe this is what really sets our members apart, especially in recent times with things changing a little bit with online school and everything. Our members are so resilient and so committed to serving each other through friendship that it really, really sets our organization apart on campus. So to close, I wanted to share a few quotes with you that I believe really reflect the Aggie ACHIEVEMates spirit and what we're doing here on campus with the Aggie Achieve program. So first off, from ACHIEVEMate Blake McGraw, he says, "I joined Aggie ACHIEVEMates so I could have the opportunity to serve others. My favorite part about being a member is seeing the progress my ACHIEVEMate has made and how far they have come. The overall best part, though, has been making a new friend." So selfless service is one of the Aggie core values. It's service to our community, our school, and mostly to each other. Our school song says, "We are the Aggies are we." And this is a really unique culture we have here at Texas A&M. People don't really view service as, how can I help you because you need it, but more, how can I serve someone else and be served in return through those reciprocal benefits we are talking about. And so our members serve the Aggie Achieve students through friendship, and they are served in return through the friendship they receive from Aggie Achieve students. This is really what I think embodies our first tenet of a welcoming culture. Everybody is an Aggie and everybody is welcome here. The second quote I want to share with you is from ACHIEVEMate Laura Mifflin. She says, "I've grown up with friends of all different abilities, and it never made sense to me why the same opportunities couldn't be at least offered to all of them equally, higher education not being an exception. I love the idea of being a part of an organization that is blazing the trail for other inclusive programs to follow." All of our members realize that they are part of something so much bigger than themselves. They realize that hopefully years from now, programs like Aggie Achieve will be everywhere and in every college across the country, because they know that our students are equally capable and deserving of having a fulfilling lifestyle, whether that be through inclusive education, competitive and integrated employment, or mutually beneficial friendships. So I believe this exemplifies the second tenet of our members choose every day in and out to support one another and join an organization that they know is changing lives of their own lives, of their friends, and of our campus as a whole. The next quote is from ACHIEVEMate Berkeley Dobronsky. She says, "Aggie ACHIEVEMates will forever be the best part of my college experience. I'm positive I needed the Achieve students just as much as they needed me. They are big dreamers just like you and I'm beyond thankful for Aggie ACHIEVEMates and how it allowed me to be a part of those dreams." So we realize that our students are more alike than different in so many ways. They strive for the same things and have the same hopes and dreams as all other college students on our campus. They want to be independent, happy, and successful. So like everyone, they need support from time to time, but what they receive from being an Aggie ACHIEVEMate, they also give onto their Aggie ACHIEVEMates and tremendously contribute to that reciprocal benefit. So this exemplifies the third tenet of reciprocal benefits. We all are included and we all benefit when inclusion is present. And then the last quote that I want to share from you is from ACHIEVEMate Courtney Osborne. Courtney says, "Aggie ACHIEVEMates has impacted me by a lot of things. I've grown new friendships in this world who have been there for me whenever I need them, or I am there when they need me. Aggie ACHIEVEMates has been the best part of college for me, and we just firmly believe that everyone deserves these kinds of friends and access to these types of opportunities."
So much like South by Southwest, and I'm sure many of you that are going through this, a lot of changes have happened recently due to COVID-19. And so we have really had to think about how our programming has changed. And how to still access students. So Texas A&M, I believe it was the second week in March, went to all online programming for the rest of the semester. And so accessing college classes online is very different from going to class every day. And so our students rely a lot on eCampus and Google Drive and sharing documents with us and sharing screens and working through their homework together. We are doing programming a lot by Zoom. Zoom has been a wonderful resource because we're able to also do breakout rooms. And so being able to meet, but then also study in different breakout rooms and help with homework. And not only that, but also promoting social interactions over Zoom. We have done a trivia night. We're doing coffee and connections. Even recreation by Zoom. The other day we did kickboxing. They've done yoga and Zumba by Zoom. And so having to rethink how we can still focus on all the areas: academics, career development, social skills, leisure and recreation, independent living, but virtually. And so one thing that has helped is doing weekly schedules and trying to keep a consistent schedule. So study halls at the same time each week by Zoom, having them do chores at home each week for independent living. So having to cook a meal for your family, having to do the dishes after dinner, washing their own bed sheets and things like that. We wanted to make sure that they were doing those things. Because I know a lot of college students, I did this, I went home and brought my laundry, and my mom still did my laundry for me. So we wanted to make sure that they were still working on their independent living skills while at home. And also, along with social skills, how does that look with ACHIEVEMates? We wanted the ACHIEVEMates to still be involved. We wanted them to still have that social interaction and still have that friendship. And so the ACHIEVEMates worked really hard in coming up with virtual meetings. So by FaceTime, I think some of them did the house party app not too long ago, having these virtual interactions. And so when we were on campus, they had a very consistent schedule with each Aggie ACHIEVEMate, and that's just carried over to virtual meetings. And so that's worked really well. Another thing we had to think about was, how do we hold students accountable for making sure that they are following through on their weekly schedule, making sure they're turning in their homework. So we're working a lot with instructors in the classes to make sure that we're still providing as much accommodations as we can to access the college classroom. And then as far as making sure that they're exercising every day and things like that, they are having to take pictures and sending them to the program. And then, a big part of being isolated is focused on mental and physical health and staying motivated, especially as a college student, not being able to see your friends anymore, living back home with your parents. It's a big adjustment. And so we're having, weekly check-ins, daily check-ins really with every student, and really helping them with talking through what is COVID-19, what does this mean, and trying to focus on the future. A great resource has been other programs throughout the country getting together and talking about how they're doing online virtual teaching and sharing resources with each other. There's a lot of support groups out there, and we'll talk about several of them in a minute. And then just making sure that students are trying to look for the future as far as August, and August is still up in the air. So now we're trying to think and prepare for, if we are on online programming in the fall, what will that look like? And so we're learning a lot right now through being a virtual campus, and taking what we have learned into the fall, if we need to. But this past year, we have had a lot of successes, more than I could name, which has been great. The overall, the Texas A&M is a very welcoming environment, and we feel that we have, by having Aggie ACHIEVE on campus, we have hopefully impacted, the university and faculty side of things. So hopefully by having the students on campus is changing the perceptions of people with disabilities. So a lot of people, especially older individuals, have never really had much contact or any experience interacting with someone with a disability. Several years ago, I'm sure if you asked individuals without disabilities if you think that someone with autism or someone with Down syndrome could go to college, a lot of people might say no. And so by being on campus, hopefully we are changing that misconception that just because they have a disability doesn't mean that they can't succeed. And we have also influenced the way that instructors are teaching. I think I mentioned this earlier about, focusing more on universal design for learning and instruction, of how they're making their classes more accessible for other students as well, by changing their teaching style, by doing more hands-on activities, more group activities. And then, we've had an impact on other Texas A&M students without disabilities, not only those in the classroom, but also just generally on campus. As Anna was saying, the student organization has really taken off, so over 130 members. The Student Government Association, along with other disability organizations on campus, have planned an inclusion week that was going to be at the end of April. Unfortunately, with COVID-19, they're having to push it to next year. But just the idea that the student government for Texas A&M and others were thinking about how can we promote more inclusion on campus? How can we empower students with and without disabilities about what it means to be an Aggie with a disability or a person with a disability? And we also, being the first 4-year program in Texas, we've had interest from other schools in Texas that are interested in starting similar programs. So we're going to start an affiliated state group, and there are a lot of these affiliated state groups in other parts of the country. So I know Tennessee has several, Alabama has one, where they get together and they talk about what their college, they get together as a support group. What's working, what's not working, kind of bouncing ideas off of each other. And so we're really, we love seeing that other programs in Texas are thinking about starting programs like Aggie ACHIEVE, because there is such a need for more programs. So some challenges, one of the big challenges that a lot of schools across the country have run into is buy-in from the university. When you start talking about people with intellectual disabilities living in a college dorm, a lot of times, especially university lawyers, will say, whoa, that's a huge liability issue, again, because of that misconception around the term disability. And so this is an issue that luckily we really haven't had any issue with. Texas A&M was very welcoming and very open to having students on campus. But I know there are several other universities who have had very long, lengthy months of conversations about starting programs on their campus, and a huge part of that was liability issues. Another issue is funding sources. It's not cheap to run a program. So our program does not receive any funding from the state or federal funding. We don't receive any funding from Texas A&M. And so most of the post-secondary programs are either funded by a grant or are self-sufficient in funding themselves through student tuition and fees and private philanthropy and donations. And so that's often a question that universities will have is, well, how is this program going to be covered? Where is your funding source coming from? So if you're thinking about starting a program like Aggie ACHIEVE somewhere else, these are some great points to make sure that you have down before addressing your university, because these are probably going to be questions that they have. Another one is this going to have more, is this going to cause more work for our instructors? And so that's something we're always very conscious of. And we really feel like this is not in any way causing more work for instructors. They modify their syllabus for the student, and besides that, they're receiving services from Disability Resources, from us, and we're really working with the student on meeting those course objectives. And so it's really not any more work on the instructors. Again, financial concerns. The cost of staff, excuse me, and then the tuition costs on families. So Aggie ACHIEVE and most of the other programs in the country are around $30,000 to attend each year. Now that includes tuition, program fees, housing, and a meal plan. But still, $30,000 a year. So not that many families can honestly afford that. And so, you know, a big push is how do we make these programs more accessible? One of the ways we're doing it at Aggie Achieve is we're applying to be a comprehensive transition program. It's called CTP. It's through the U.S. Department of Education, so that our students can apply for financial aid, such as Pell Grants and the FAFSA, along with, you know, donations, scholarships, endowments. And so really, that's been a challenge. We really want to make sure that individuals are able to come to the program, and that cost is not the reason that they can't access our program. But it is highly competitive. So being the first four-year program in Texas, we have had a lot of interest, which has been overwhelming, to say the least. So we have 5 students right now, and we accepted 7 more for the fall, but we had over 70 applications. And so it's very competitive. That's why we are hoping that there are more post-secondary programs that come up across the state of Texas, so that more students have opportunities like Aggie Achieve. There is a college program in every state for post-secondary education, but that's still not enough. And so there needs to be multiple universities in each state that offer these type of programs.
So to close, we'd like to share some resources with you about how you can learn more about inclusive higher education and get involved in whatever setting or community you work in and live in. So one of the big ones we've been talking about throughout the presentation is Think College. And this is a snapshot of their website, which is at thinkcollege.net. And this is a wonderful resource that is filled with all different types of resources that are really tailored to whatever your role is as a stakeholder. So there's specific resources for families. There's in the technical assistance tab, there's information about program development and program support. There's training opportunities available online. And they even have an interactive map where you can click on your state and see all of the different programs that are offered there. So these are going to capture any college-based program for students specifically serving students with intellectual disability. And as you can see, there are many of these programs across the country, and each of them, this is like a directory page for each program where they provide a little bit of information and then how to contact the program. Another excellent resource is called AUCD. They are the Association of University Centers on Disabilities. And so the Center on Disability and Development at Texas A&M University is one of these types of centers. There are 2 in the state of Texas, another one at UT, and each state has at least 1 university center. And these centers are leaders in research, service, education, policy making for their respective states. So this is another great website. I encourage you to check out the resources tab. There's a diversity and inclusion toolkit that provides a lot of resources about how to make whatever communities or settings you are a part of more inclusive. There's an acronym dictionary, which I think is really helpful because in the world of disability, there are so many acronyms. So just to make sure that we're all talking the same language, that's a very helpful resource. And they also have a conference each year in November in Washington, D.C., where they really focus on policy changes and taking legislative action to advocate for and improve the lives of people with disabilities. And what I love about this organization is it's not just about people with disabilities, but it is really in every single way comprised of people with disabilities as well, who serve as leaders and change makers in the organization. And we leave you with a call to action. So we hope after watching this presentation that you feel inspired to provide more inclusive opportunities in whatever sector you are a part of, in whatever region of the country or world that you are currently residing. So a few ways to do this. Some of them are big, some of them are small, some of them are just mindset shifts for us to think about. The first is, if you can, and if you have access to hiring, or if that's part of what you do is hiring people in your workplace, we encourage you to think about hiring people with disabilities. And oftentimes this is seen as a liability, like many other aspects of providing more inclusive opportunities for people with disabilities, but it can also be seen as a charitable act, and we encourage you to think actually of neither of those things. So it is not a liability and it is not a charitable act to hire someone with a disability. It really is just a way of improving your workplace and your workplace environment, as we've talked about how this translates to a college campus where there's so much reciprocal benefit for all people involved, all members of the community. It would be the same in your workplace, where you would see that reciprocal benefit on the coworkers, as well as managers, supervisors, customers, anyone relevant to that workplace would immediately see the impact of that action. Next, if you're involved in higher education in some way, or if you are connected to a college or university in your area, check out Think College and see if there's already a program in existence, or maybe there's conversations about starting one. See how you might be able to be involved, or if there is a program already, see if you can get involved with participating in it as a volunteer, as an educator, as a donor, whatever their needs are. As Dr. Hester was saying, there is a great need for expanding financial opportunities. So we at Aggie Achieve are always looking for philanthropy opportunities and donations for our current students, as well as creating endowments for future students to expand access to the program, because we never want the cost of tuition or attendance to be a reason why college is not available to a student. And lastly, just wherever you are, we hope that you'll advocate for the inclusion of people with disabilities across your settings. Always think about the importance of not just acknowledging, not just physically including, but really celebrating intellectual diversity at all levels. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us. And although we can't answer questions right now, we would love to receive your questions via email. So the email address on the screen is the best way to reach us. That's aggieachieve@tamu.edu. That is the email that is monitored daily, and we're always taking questions on there. We also encourage you to check out our website, which is aggieachieve.tamu.edu. And this has a lot of information about our program. You can find the link to the video that we showed, as well as more details about our eligibility criteria, our admissions timeline. There's even a full webinar that is a live stream of one of our virtual open houses. So if you really wanted to learn more about Aggie Achieve as a program, you can check that out. And lastly, we just encourage you to follow us on social media. We have Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter that we update very often, where we're posting all the cool things that our students are doing, the milestones that they've reached, and just sharing fun facts about our students and our programs. So we encourage you to join us there and follow along. Thank you so very much for your time. We've really enjoyed presenting this, and please follow up with us if you have any questions.